It's Friday, August 7th, 2020. I'm Greg Nibbler, and this is Digital Trends Live. Hey, hello everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and more. Whatever platform you're on, hit that subscribe button, join the show. Let us know what you want to talk about. But let's get started with some news here at the top of the show, and it's all about TikTok. So according to an executive order signed by President Trump, U.S. businesses must cease transactions with ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, starting on September 20th. All this stems from the continuing concern that the data collected by TikTok could be used by the Chinese government to track U.S. citizens, conduct blackmail, commit corporate espionage, and a number of other related issues. Now, the demand has already been in place that ByteDance sell off its U.S. operations, and the September 20th date is significant because September 15th is the deadline that Microsoft gave itself for acquiring TikTok from ByteDance. There's speculation whether they want its whole worldwide operations or just a few select countries like the U.S. and Canada. However, TikTok has responded with an extensive blog post that states, in part, that the order would risk, quote, undermining global businesses' trust in the United States' commitment to the rule of law, unquote. So this is even being reported that Mark Zuckerberg said at a Facebook meeting that the executive order would set a really bad long-term precedent. So there's that. There's also a separate executive order that also calls for the end of WeChat, which is used by millions of people around the world for messaging, particularly from the US to Chinese citizens, where other messaging apps are banned. They're banned in China, so WeChat is used. WeChat is owned by Tencent, which has stakes in Epic Games, Reddit, Spotify, and a bunch of other companies, although it is stated that WeChat is the only one of its properties that's being targeted. Going back to TikTok, they have also threatened a lawsuit over the executive order, and there's no sign that this whole thing is going to get better over these next coming days, so expect it to get messier. There's a lot on the way. Read all about it at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on here with trending news on this Friday. There is another tech fight heating up, but this one has been going on for years. Now Facebook is jumping into the fray. So the Apple App Store has been frequently criticized by a number of people and businesses, even Congress, during the antitrust hearing for its potential practices of suppressing competition. Facebook is implying it's now a victim of this since it launched its Facebook gaming app for iOS, but it doesn't have any games on it. So Facebook said it's been trying since April to get the app into the store and finally was able to get it through, but only because it removed the streaming game functionality from it, which kind of defeats the purpose. Microsoft has also been upset over the fact that Project xCloud has not even been allowed in the App Store, as well as Google with Stadia. Now, Apple stated they won't allow cloud gaming in the store because they said they can't review each game that these apps offer and can't individually rank them on the App Store. However, competitors say it's more likely because they also don't get a cut of the revenue from games sold within apps. Facebook's COO Sheryl Sandberg said, unfortunately, we had to remove gameplay functionality entirely in order to get Apple's approval on the standalone Facebook gaming app, meaning iOS users have an inferior experience to those using Android. So this is another battle that's bound to continue until some kind of an arrangement is probably made, but you can keep up to date with it at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on with trending news. Have you been getting the Google Plus class action lawsuit emails? Well, if you have, you're not alone. A lot of people have been concerned that it's a scam, and I can say that the lawsuit is not a scam. So, if you had a Google Plus account between January 1st, 2015 and April 2nd, 2019, and you're from the United States, you can register for a payout if you think you were impacted by a security flaw that Google disclosed in 2018. Now, not a lot of people were on Google Plus, but there was a flaw that may have allowed advertisers to access more personal information about users. So Google made it public when they found out, they quickly took care of it, and then they just shuttered the entire thing because Google Plus, again, did not have a lot of people on it. However, the class action lawsuit will let you file a claim for part of the $7.5 million that has been set aside. Now, each class action member, which could be you, is eligible for a payout of $12 after all the attorney's fees, and it could be as low as $5 if a lot of people file. But the bottom line is, No, the class action lawsuit is not a scam. It's real. There are actual emails going out about this, but there are probably some spam ones as well. So as always, be careful on clicking any links. If the email address ends in google.com, it's probably legitimate. But either way, you have until October 8th to register if you so choose to. Read all about it at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on here with trending news, let's talk about SpaceX. Yet another launch to send up Starlink satellites, and this one just a little bit different. They not only sent up Starlink satellites, they also set up something called a Black Sky satellite, which is a company based out of Seattle that does geospace intelligence gathering. Now, back to the Starlink side of things, this brings their total up to 595 satellites as they attempt to bring satellite internet to North America and then eventually the world. They're starting with the US is what they said, so we'll see where we go from there. But 595 up there right now. And these new ones have a little bit of a different twist to them. Now, the astronomy community has been very upset with these satellites because of the fact that they reflect sunlight back, they mess up telescopes, they really have been causing some problems for them. So SpaceX has responded. Now, these ones that have come up will have a new visor that's attached to them, so that's supposed to reduce the brightness of the sun's reflection. There's a few different things they're going to be trying out to try to stop that reflection from coming back, and this is one of them. So this visor is going to be part of it. There's another one where there's a specific kind of paint. They also talked about maybe angling them different, but this is what they're trying with this batch to see if that kind of mitigates some of those issues. But again, Starlink sending up some more satellites, bringing their total to 595. And they said they're going to continue on doing this. So there's also the possibility that test accounts for Starlink internet could be starting up any time. They actually have a place where you can go register for it. And then if you're selected, you could be one of the ones who gets to try this out. And you can do that too from their website. But read more about Starlink and SpaceX at digitaltrends.com. All right, and one more trending story here. This is maybe a sign of things to come. The robots are going to help us with COVID. So here's what's happening. SoftBank Robotics, has a robot named Pepper. Now, Pepper's been around for a while, and it's being utilized in Europe in a lot of places. So to help slow the spread of COVID-19, countries like France are requiring people to wear masks in closed public spaces. We've seen this in a lot of other places as well, but this is one thing they're doing. So to help people remember to do that, Pepper is what's being utilized. So if you're not familiar with Pepper, it's not as prominent in the United States, but around the world, actually, these robots are utilized for a number of things, either greeters at stores, they could be desk clerks, they provide directions in airports, and what it has on it is a way to scan faces. So it's an image recognition software. I want to say this really quick. SoftBank did say they're not scanning the faces to keep that data, but it can recognize that faces are in front of it, and it can recognize whether somebody's wearing a mask or not. So it uses this AI to take a look at it. It can identify even the complex patterns of face masks, and if you are standing in front of it, it'll pick up to 5 faces, and it'll give you a nice green circle if you have the mask, but it'll put a red one around you if you don't have the mask, and it will remind you in its robot voice that you need to put a mask on. So that is something they're going to use. So they said that businesses could use this to even analyze how many people throughout the day go through their business that aren't wearing masks, what they can do to try to change some of that. And, the robots are bound to take over anyway. So if they're going to help us out with COVID, I guess the robot apocalypse might as well start now. Read more about it at digitaltrends.com.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's now time for the product of the day.
Yes, our product of the day is the Lenovo Smart Clock with Google Assistant. Yes, it's 2-in-1 with this thing, and that is why it's our product of the day. So there's a great deal. I'm going to tell you about that deal here in just a second, but let's talk about some of the features that come with this. So it's got Bluetooth, it's got Wi-Fi, it's got everything you need with that. You've got different kinds of alarms you can set, but with the Google aspect, you can integrate it into pretty much anything. So that could be your Ring, Nest, really any other kind of smart system. So that's kind of a great thing that you could do all right from your bedside. It's got all kinds of different microphones on it. It's got different aspects to it that can really help you out for a number of reasons. It's got any kind of wireless internet that you need. It's got a microphone mute button. So pretty much everything that comes along the lines of a Google Assistant and a smart clock to sit next to your bed. So it's got even the reminders that'll pop up there that'll showcase, what you should be paying attention to or whether or not you can hit snooze for a while. So this is, again, the Lenovo Smart Clock with Google Assistant built into it. So normally this is $79.99, but you can save yourself $30 right now and get it for $49.99. So that's why it's our product of the day. So what you want to do, there's a link there below me, to the side of me, depending on what platform you're watching on. Click that link, follow through. That's how you take advantage of it. our product of the day, the Lenovo Smart Clock with Google Assistant. All right, and I want to thank everybody for joining us here for Digital Trends Live. We've got a lot on the way. We're going to have tech briefs. We're going to recap some of the biggest stories throughout the week so you make sure that you know what's going on with those. But before that, we've got a very important segment coming up. We're going to have Ramona Diaz. We're going to have Maria Ressa, who is an incredible journalist from the Philippines. And there's a new movie coming out, a documentary called 1,000 Cuts, documenting investigative journalists in the Philippines and what they go up against. I got to sit down with both of them. So that's the interview that's coming up next. Stick around. Back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. And welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thank you everybody for joining us. Hit that subscribe button. Maria Ressa is an award-winning journalist, a 2018 Time Person of the Year, and the founder of Rappler, a Philippines-based news organization. She and other investigative journalists are the subject of the documentary 1,000 Cuts, which will open in virtual cinemas in the US and Canada on August 7th and is directed by Ramona Diaz. And we're joined by both of them right now. Maria and Ramona, hello. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Maria, I did want to start with you, though. There's a particular term I wanted to talk to you about, and that term is cyber libel, which you were convicted of in June in the Philippines with other possible charges still rolling in. And to clarify for everybody, can you tell us what cyber libel is and what led to you being charged with this?
I don't even know, I hope you saw me roll my eyes when you asked me what it was. So, what is it? It was a law that was enacted in 2012. It criminalizes, it basically takes libel and then pushes it into the digital age. Our case is a test case. It's really the first time that it's being rolled out in this way. And the fact that the cyber libel case that was filed by the government. So in 2018, the Philippine government essentially weaponized the law. It filed 11 cases and investigations against me and Rappler in a little over a year. I have an arrest warrant. This was the first time I got arrested, just in time for Valentine's Day last year. And I think two things stand out about this. In order to convict me and a former colleague, the legal acrobatics are laughable. The government, the justice system had to change the period of prescription or the statute of limitations for libel from 1 year to 12 years. That was the original decision. We appealed it. And then she doubled down, Judge Montesa doubled down and then made it 15 years. And then the second thing is this novel concept of republication. So what is it? This is one of the many ways that the Philippine government has weaponize the law to try to harass and intimidate me and Rappler. I mean, we're not the only ones, right? The largest broadcaster in the Philippines, ABS-CBN, has been shut down. And this happened during a pandemic.
Wow. I mean, and this attack on journalists is certainly, a theme of what we're talking about here. And that's actually, Ramona, I wanted to go to you to talk about 1,000 Cuts. And with this movie in particular, following these investigative journalists around, what were some of the big challenges that you had with producing this documentary?
following Maria around the world. um, I never, I don't do breaking news. It's not what I do. In my past work, um, I immersively spend time with people, right? So Maria became breaking news as we started filming her. So that was a challenge because I don't know how to navigate all the other reporters that were coming on, like whenever she got arrested, that would sort of come in droves, right? And then leave. But I just realized, if we just keep on staying, then we'll get the best things, right? But that was a challenge. I'd never filmed anyone that was breaking news all the time. And of course, it was also a challenge just because progressively became, sort of in the crosshairs. Yeah, she was in the crosshairs of the administration. So that was a little troubling as well. So we had to really figure out, is this, are we okay with this? Are we okay with um, the risk, if there was any, covering her? And once you figure out, yeah, you're okay with it, then you go. And of course, I had to be very sure that my local crew also, that was key, that they were okay with it, because they would stay, I would leave. I live in the States, I go to the Philippines to film. So that they would be okay with it, because they were the ones who had to um who live there, right? So those were the challenges.
That's incredibly challenging. I can only imagine going through all that. Maria, back to you. Something we wanted to talk about that we bring up a lot here, and that's dealing with misinformation. And you've worked as a fact checker for Facebook in the Philippines in this fight against fake news before. Can you talk to us about what that's actually like?
Wow. So yeah, we're one of two Filipino fact checkers. The third one, Agence France Press, operates also in the Philippines. But look, uh, looking at content moderation alone is a game of whack-a-mole. And I think the entire world was slightly derailed because that was the way we looked at this problem first. And what is the problem? Let me define that. This time, more than at any other time, again, emphasizes that information is power. And what technology did was it enabled the rise. It threw gasoline into the fire of the longing of people all around the world to deal with a very, very complex world, and this nostalgic throwback to kind of a strongman ruler, right? I mean, we know this is an illusion, but when you throw technology in, all of a sudden it just caught fire. So we live in a world today where social media, the world's largest distributor of news, is Facebook, where these platforms actually take lies laced with anger and hate and spread it further and faster than really boring facts. It's become part of the dictator's playbook, the rise of digital authoritarians all around the world. I mean, look at the United States itself, right? You have data that proves as early as 2016, Russian disinformation networks targeted Americans on two sides of an issue that is now erupted. One of the fracture lines of society that has been pummeled was Black Lives Matter, right? So you have this data. This has happened all around the world. Social media is essentially, with micro targeting, a behavioral modification system that takes everything we are and then takes our most vulnerable moment to a message and serves it up for the highest bidder, whether it's a government or a company. And this is part of what has eroded democracy all around the world. And I would say in the Philippines, where Facebook is essentially our internet, it's literally killed it.
Yeah, it's so important. And Ramona, I do have another question for you, but I want to follow up with this. Thinking about just along the lines of what you just said, because I think it's so important. One of the things that you talk about in documentaries, even in the trailer, talking about the Philippines being used as a testing ground for basically this kind of autocratic takeover of democracy. And for that, and to that extent, for people around the world, what are some of the warning signs and dangers that ordinary people should be looking for, should be noticing for that kind of movement?
You've already seen it. Let me say some, the main one, genocide. The UN and Facebook itself has already agreed. The UN sent a special group to Myanmar. They came out with a report in 2018 that said genocide was enabled by social media. Facebook did its own independent study, and they came out with the same results. Genocide. Yet no one has been held accountable for this. People have died. And I think the hard part is that countries in the global south, like Myanmar, like Sri Lanka, like the Philippines, like India, where violence has erupted, like Indonesia, our countries have no say in what these American social media platforms do. And yet their policies wreak the most harmful effects on our countries because our democracies are weak, our institutions are weak at best. And now, what you've seen in the Philippines, for example, a drug war that was enabled by Facebook, right? The first people who came under attack in 2016 were normal people who were questioning the deaths in the drug war. These are brutal deaths. In July of 2016, we had one reporter going out every night. She would come back with at least 8 dead bodies. So I guess I'm saying the danger signals are there. Think about it like this: it's like World War II, post World War II. We already went through Hitler. The atom bomb went off, and in that time period, humanity came together to prevent us from killing ourselves, right? To prevent the worst of humanity from coming out. This needs to happen again. After World War II, you had Bretton Woods, you had the UN Declaration of Human Rights, you had NATO, right? All of these things were formed after that. What do we do today? Because the fabric of our societies, our democracies are dying. And the rise of these digital authoritarians and the kinds of far right, far left, the extremism, the move to extremists, that's built into the design of the platforms. The impact is already there. It's whether or not we accept this. We, meaning tech, right? They've got to own the problem before they can fix it. And look, the incentives are the other way. There have no incentives. We watched Facebook's revenues increase. So we have to somehow tie the revenues with protecting the users. That's the other part. The rise of hate speech, even the definition of hate speech is too murky. What's happening in the United States right now, hashtag stop hate for profit, is only a first step because it is built into the DNA of these social media platforms, and it must be addressed. It must stop. Legislation takes time. So I really do appeal for enlightened self-interest on these groups.
Ramona, to you to this extent, for 1,000 cuts, what would you like people to take away from watching your documentary?
For 98 minutes, you walk in Maria's shoes. What does that mean to walk in someone's shoes? Someone who's been targeted by the government, who has lived with trolls for 4 years. What does that really mean, right? And hopefully, the film also explains in a very clear way what um, fake news is, right? Or how disinformation spreads. I think it's very clear in the film because usually that's so abstract for people, right? So what we try to do is really um, make that narrative clearly. It really unpacks it and shows it to you graphically how one account can really affect millions of other accounts. I think that's what the film does best. So but yeah, it's just experience. So what's someone like Maria in the Philippines going through, right? And you can imagine it also in this country. It's happening here to journalists as well.
Well, it's just, tremendous what you've put out here. And I want to remind everybody again. So August 7th, the US and Canada, where it's going to be available. So for virtual cinemas, where everybody can go watch it. And then later on in the fall, it'll be available other places in the world. And it's just a tremendous honor to talk to both of you. And Maria, Ramona, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live and for all that you do. And I encourage everybody to watch the film and just follow along with what you're doing. And thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for amplifying the film. Thank you so much.
Love it. Thank you, both of you. There we go. Wow, that's really tremendous right here that we just got to talk to both of them live here on Digital Trends. I was wrapped up in it. Again, 1,000 cuts. Definitely watch that movie. It's important. So thanks, everybody. We'll be back in a minute with more Digital. And hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and it's Friday, which means it's time for Tech Briefs, where we catch you up on some of the biggest stories in tech throughout the week. And let's start with this one. Samsung. Remember, all the way back to whatever day that was, Tuesday, I think, Samsung had their Galaxy Unpacked event, actually it was Wednesday, where they showcased 5 new power devices. Now, we'd seen leaks of these for a while going on, but we did get this smattering of new Samsung devices that were showcased to us. And let's start off with this. Everything's in Mystic Bronze. That was the color that they really highlighted. They also had Mystic Black and Mystic White, but bronze, very big theme of this. So the phones. First off, we have the Galaxy Note 20 and the Note 20 Ultra. Again, something that we expected. We knew this was on the way. A couple of key highlights from those. 108 megapixel camera on the Note 20 Ultra. They both got the Snapdragon 865 processors. These are the top of the line phones when it comes to Samsung, and that's what they're showcasing with it. They show a lot of what's going on with the S Pen as far as the different functionalities that they have with that. But other than that, pretty standard upgrade that we expected for that. Going from there, we have the Galaxy Z Fold 2, which is the next iteration of the Fold phone. So we have the Fold Z, or the Galaxy Z Fold Flip, and the Galaxy Z Fold, which came out last year with all of the issues that were associated with that. But this is the Fold 2. So this next iteration kind of updated a few things that people wanted. One of those is an edge-to-edge screen on the outside. That was something before with that outside screen that people didn't like that so much. So edge-to-edge now, it's bigger when you actually open it up. It's got a 7.6-inch screen on the inside instead of 7.3. So it is a full-on upgrade of this so far. We don't know what the exact price is going to be. They haven't released that yet. They did use the pinhole camera there for the front of it, 3 cameras on the back, and that's what they're going for with the Galaxy Z Fold 2. Now, from there, the Galaxy Watch 3. So the Galaxy Watch, something we were waiting on. A little bit different than the Galaxy Watch 2. It's a little bit thinner, although bigger. Does have some special features on it, though. That's what I wanted to highlight with this. So it's got some unique health additions. It's got an EKG reader. It's got a blood oxygen level reader, and a few other things, too, that go along with it. They're just like health-oriented aspects, which showcases, this further integration of health apps with smartwatches and just combining all of that into one. So this is definitely something to go after the Apple Watch. That's what they're trying to do with this, particularly because the Apple Watch does go after the health side of things. Now, some of those are still going to need approval from the FDA in order to roll out and get updated, but the blood oxygen level reader, I believe, actually just updated today. So you're going to see these if you do pick up one of the watches as they get the approval. Those features will be highlighted and brought up. Then you have the Galaxy Buds Live with active noise cancellation, which is meant to compete with the AirPods. So their new version of that, the main thing there, it's shaped like little beans. That's what the sizes they're going for. So when it comes to these wireless earbuds, everybody's got their own take on them, but this is what they're going with the bean shape. And then finally, you did have the Galaxy Tab S7 and the S7 Plus also come out going directly at the iPad. So really a lot of this just aimed directly at Apple. We'll have to see what Apple comes out with. They're going to be having their event probably in September. They never really announce it until it gets a little bit closer, but we expect they'll have their retort here before too long. That's Samsung. Going on to the next topic here from Tech Briefs. Just to keep you up to date, let's go to TikTok. There's so much with TikTok that it's hard to even get into all of it, but I'll just give you a brief timeline of what this last week has, and this isn't even everything that's gone on. So first off, we started off with the end of last week going into this week with the idea that Microsoft may be buying TikTok, and that's because there's that push for ByteDance to separate itself from TikTok. So Microsoft set a date of September 15th in mind to buy it if they do go through with it. And that would be either like US, Canada, New Zealand, a couple other countries, or even buying the worldwide operations. There's also rumors that Apple was looking at this as well to maybe buy TikTok. Everybody wants a piece of TikTok. And then you had Facebook, which actually rolled out Reels, which is going to be on Instagram. Actually, it is on Instagram right now, and this is something that they've been trying out in other places around the world to go after directly at TikTok, and it follows along with that same suit as far as different videos you can post. Instagram's going to have a whole section where you can find other people. You can make your Reels public or private. Same kind of thing. Then you have Triller, which is also a big TikTok competitor, and their download numbers skyrocketed upon all of this word that TikTok may get banned from the United States, and they even launched a patent lawsuit against TikTok. So Triller going after them in court, Instagram going after them on the app. TikTok launched a Fire TV app to try to go into streaming television. And then finally, you have Trump, who issued an executive order today. This is August 7th, so this is where we stand right now. Issued an executive order banning the interaction of U.S. companies with ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, after September 20th. And now TikTok's threatening to send a lawsuit back. It is a complete soap opera that is going on with this, playing out, though, with, well, a couple billion downloads and hundreds of millions of users and billions of dollars at stake. So this is what's going on. Each day is going to bring something else, I think, with this. This is not over anytime soon. Be prepared to see it change up a lot over the next coming weeks. And finally, we've got this, SpaceX. Remember, all the way back to last Sunday, SpaceX returned the two astronauts, Bob and Doug, with their Crew Dragon capsule, part of the Demo 2. And Bob and Doug, completed the mission. It was safe. They got back. It was very successful. They actually said that when they were going through the atmosphere in the Crew Dragon capsule, remember, this is the first time anybody's done this in this particular capsule, they said that it actually sounded like a wild monster was outside of the capsule banging on it. And they said that with the puffs from the rockets, it sounded like it roars. And so really interesting how that is, what it sounded like to them. But again, perfectly safe, made it back. They even said when they got back there, while they were waiting for the boats to come and get them, that they were making prank satellite phone calls to their friends. So I don't think any of those have been released yet, but I would like to hear them. So what comes next? Here it is. They're going to clean the capsule. They're sending it back. They're going to investigate for any fractures, make sure that everything's up to date, because they're going to be reusing this. So they want to get it pristine, back to those pristine conditions after going through the atmosphere, which naturally has a lot of stress on it. Then they're going to go through the certification process to make sure they're actually completely certified to take humans up to the International Space Station. They'll get certified by NASA, and then that'll be it. It's official, because this was technically a demo mission. So the next one will be the Crew Dragon 1. And that is going to have a whole new batch of astronauts, 3 Americans, and I believe 1 astronaut from Japan. And they're going to launch probably mid to late September. They haven't said an exact date, but nonetheless, that's what's going to be going on. And they did say that SpaceX seems to be on the path to actually have commercial space tourism launches as early as maybe mid to late next year. So we'll see. Maybe we'll be seeing space tourists next year around this time. Who knows what's in store? We don't even know what's in store tomorrow, but that's what happened last week. This is Tech Briefs, so hit subscribe to the podcast. All right, I'm Greg Nibbler, and I want to say thank you to everybody who joins us here each week for Digital Trends Live. I want you to hit subscribe, and we have a very special shout out and birthday right now to a Jake Rossman. Jake wrote in saying it's his birthday and wanted to hear from us. So Jake, have a great one. Go tear it up. You do what you do, and happy birthday, Jake. Seriously, actually, Jake's our producer here. Happy birthday, and thank you to everybody. So hit subscribe, share the show, let other people know about it, because we are here every single weekday for you, and we love doing this show, and we've got a great crew here that brings this to you. So it's important, and we'd like to share it with you. So hit subscribe. I'm Greg Nibbler. I'll see you right back here on Monday with another edition of Digital Trends Live.